All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to go over my 1-year review of the Bambu X1C. Over the last year, I've had this YouTube channel and over 3,500 of you have tuned in to see what I'm going to throw at this thing next. And it's been a really cool and exciting journey, and I'm glad that all of you have subscribed and tuned in to see what that journey is like. For those of you that are new here, this is a great opportunity to see what the quality and what you can expect of owning your Bambu product for the next year, and specifically the X1C. So in today's video, I'll go over the good, the bad, and the cloud, I mean the ugly, of having the Bambu X1C and what you can expect with that. So if all that sounds good, then sit back and relax and I'll get everything ready. All right, so let's start out with the good. And the first thing that we have to start out with on the good is definitely the build quality. And after a year, it really, other than the little pieces of filament and little charcoal that's still left over in there, it looks like the first day that I got it. Minus having to clean the rods and everything like that, and the maintenance that you need to do every 3 months and everything. As long as you do all of that, this thing looks essentially just like it did from the day that I pulled it out of the box to begin with. So I will say the build quality is really good. All of the rods and axes and everything in there, I haven't had any issues with. Now, nozzles, those are considered a consumable type of thing. With any printer, you're going to use a few of those. I have used a few nozzles. But that's about it. I haven't had to change any belts or have to adjust any rods or adjust anything or do anything like that. For the AMSs, I did, for safety's sake, after 6 months, I did replace the PTFT or PTFE tubing in the bottom of those, and you saw that in the video as well. But other than that, the build quality has been amazing, and I gotta start the good out with that, and really cannot say enough about how well this thing is built. Next on the good side is definitely the software and how easy it is to use as far as the slicer software, and just the massive amounts of tutorials and tips and tricks and cool things that are being added to it all the time. So there is Bambu Studio as well as Orca Slicer, and both of those seem to be really good, real easy to use, and bring a lot of value to the printing experience, and they make it really easy, and a lot of things are very intuitive once you start using it a couple of times. Whereas other software that I've used in the past has not been that user friendly, and on some of the 3D printers, quite frankly, it's very hard to use the software that they use. That's not the case for Studio or with Orca. You can be up and going in under an hour with most of the printers, the software, and getting a model loaded in there, and to hit the print button, you can get it done very easy. And that has to do with the software. It's very easy to use. All right, next on the list for the good is definitely the options that we have for filament. From a year ago to today, the Bambu store has just exploded with the amount of colors and types of filament that they have. Third-party filament makers are making all kinds of filament. I get sent a ton of different filaments for us to try out. Matter of fact, next week, be sure you hit the subscribe button. There's a really cool filament that I'll be trying out next week. But just the amount of filaments that Bambu has and the amount of filaments that third-party people are making, and all of them seem to work in the X1C. Having the enclosed chamber does help whenever you're using, things with higher temperatures and things that are susceptible to warping at those higher temperatures, like ABS and PC and ASA and those different types of things. But just the amount of availability of filament that Bambu has with their cool, little RFID technology and all of that. Just the amount of that is available is really, really cool. And then just a ton of third party stuff as well. Meaning that whatever the use case, whatever you're trying to do, whatever color you're trying to print with, most likely you can get it and get it to work very, very easily on the Bambu. All right, next on the list for the good is definitely going to be Maker World. And over the last year, that has completely transformed, and it's completely transformed the way that I print and the way that I share prints. A year ago, I mainly used Thingiverse, and I was starting to dive into printables and to do all of that. And really, over the past couple of months, Maker World has really just started to shine and make things really, really easy. And what's really cool is I can set everything up. I can set a specific pattern for a top infill, for the infill percentage, all of the different settings and everything like that. And I can upload that to Maker World where you can just push a button and all of those settings are transferred to your Bambu printer. That is amazing and that is really cool. And a ton of you guys out there are loading your models on there. I am as well, and making it a really, really cool place to find things to print, especially for the different seasons and holidays and everything and occasions that you might have going on, or the things that you might need. Chances are you can find it there in Maker World. And I have been just thoroughly impressed with that. And really, over the past 90 days, I have flipped over to primarily using only Maker World. So that's really, really cool and a really, really good job by Ben. And the last thing that I'll go over in the good is the community that I have met and joined over the last year of having this printer, not only through the YouTube channel and different things like that, but just uploading models and liking and sharing and doing all of that stuff with all of the models from printables and from Maker World. I've met a ton of really, really cool people and a lot of really cool creative people that are making some cool stuff for us to print. So really the community is definitely a really, really good thing. All right. And now let's go into the bad. And the first thing that we'll go over in the bad is a little bit of a nitpicky thing, but whenever you use non-Bambu filament and you load it into the AMS, it does seem like it's a little bit harder than what it could be to tell the printer what filament it is, and to save settings for that stuff. And they've made some of that a little bit better, but I think it could be a little bit easier process to do that. Which brings me up to the second bad, which is I really wish you could program and reuse the RFID tags. So I really wish you could program an RFID tag for, the eSun filament or Sunlu filament or something like that, and be able to put your settings on that RFID tag on that roll of filament. And then that way, whenever you load it in there, it will load those settings as well. I understand why they wouldn't do that, but that is going to be on the bad. I do think they make it a little bit harder than what it needs to be. Probably not on purpose, but they do make it a little bit harder than what it needs to be to add non-Bambu filament in there. And I really wish you could reuse the RFID tags and customize those. All right, second on the list, another nitpicky thing, but the nozzle wiper on this thing. It doesn't always do a really good job with it. It flings some of the poop onto the tray sometimes. For those of you that have had this printer for a little while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And sometimes there's like a little ball of filament on the end of the nozzle that is just a little bit nitpicky, but I don't like seeing that. I have seen some interesting DIY kind of fixes for the nozzle wipe, and maybe I'll make a video about that. But I do think they could do a little bit better job than the nozzle wipe that they have now, because that thing sometimes can ruin a print. Next on the bad list is the camera. Now, while the camera is cool and you can view it through Orca Slicer or from Studio, getting a full screen version of that took a whole video, and I don't even think those instructions work anymore because they've changed some of the ways that they do that. The way that they send the camera signal over is kind of weird. It's just a Foscam camera. It's just like any other camera, having to do it over the cloud and all of that. I really wish they made access to the camera outside of the slicer a little bit easier. And I don't understand why they make it so difficult to access that outside of it. Now, if you want to use OBS and stream, you can get a full screen picture of it really, really easy. But if you want to do that without that, it's kind of a chore to do that. So I really wish they made just accessing the camera so that you can monitor your prints. I wish they made that a lot easier. So that's on the bad list as well. Next on the bad list is the noise that this thing makes, and this has probably been said in other reviews. It's been said in other reviews that I've done, and I say it all the time. I have my own room here that I have the printer in, so I'm a little bit lucky. I can shut the door, and it's not too bad. But if it's in your main room or something like that, this thing puts off some noises and some vibrations, and especially when you're doing the higher speed print modes, it can be noisy. Most 3D printers are going to put out noise, so I don't think you're going to get away from that too much, but it is worth noting the noise level of this machine. All right, and last on the bad list is going to be the cost of the machine with the AMS and everything. And this kind of goes for any multicolor printer and print system and everything, is the cost of entry is kind of high. I will say with the A1 Mini and the new A1 that Bambu just came out with, that cost of entry has definitely came down quite a bit. With the P1P and the P1S, the cost of entry has come down quite a bit. But for a fully enclosed, does everything, prints everything, and it does it all well type of printer, it is, fairly high cost of entry to get into. But if you compare it against the competition, it wins hands down in my personal opinion, and I think it's worth every penny. But it is worth saying it is kind of a lot of money to get into. But I am excited that they are bringing that cost of entry down with some of the newer printers that they've come out with. All right, so now let's get into the cloud. I mean, the ugly, and we'll start with probably the one ugly thing that's pretty easy for us to all to come up with is the cloud. And, this can be a big issue for you, or it can not be an issue for you. A lot of the things that I print come off of Maker World. So, me sending that STL file that I got off of Maker World over their servers and all that, not a big issue. But if you design your own things, um, there's always an issue with that, and it's probably not Bambu that you have to worry about. But if they get hacked or something like that, then your proprietary information could get leaked out there, and that is something to be concerned with. Don't want to fear monger or anything like that, but if you do have some intellectual property, I would definitely look into doing the LAN only modes. Does seem like when I first got the printer till today that the LAN only mode and not using the cloud has got a lot better, and it's a lot easier to do that. And you can do everything with an SD card on this as well, so you don't have to send stuff over any wire. You can actually load it on an SD card and go and plug it in just like you did on your other printers and just like you're used to before. So you don't have to do that, but sometimes the cloud has messed up. It's sent some rogue prints to some people. There's always a chance of stuff getting hacked and everything like that. So, I'm really scratching at some feathers to come up with some ugly things about this, as you could tell by the review. Kind of hard to think of some ugly things, but that would be one of them. Next on the list for the ugly is the back side of this thing, or the poop chute, and how it discharges the filament that it purges and stuff like that. And on a stream, I think it was the last stream that we had, somebody had mentioned that they wish the poop chute was on the side or something like that, and I think that would be a really good idea. Having it in the back next to all the wires and the tubes, I fight, even though I have a hole cut in this table back here for everything to just fall down into easily into a big giant trash can that I, don't have to change for a really long time. It still gets clogged up in the back there because of all the wires and everything. So one of those little pieces of, poop will get hung up on a wire there, and then it clogs the whole thing up. And then there's a giant mess behind the printer to clean up. So, if it was on the side, at least, if it made a mess, it would be a lot easier to clean up than it is, being in the back there. So that's definitely one of the. And then the last thing on the ugly list is the AMS. And the AMS light that they have does look like a way better idea than what these were at the time. Really, really good. Really thought that these were great, and I still do. They work really, really great. It's just that there's a long travel path from each roll to the nozzle, and those filament changes or color changes take a really, really long time. The other thing is there's a ton of moving parts to take 4 rolls of filament down into one, and then take that one thing over to the printer. I've had to take that thing apart and troubleshoot it. I know how to take that thing apart way too well. I should not know every, the 2 plugs, the 2 screws that it takes to get it apart. I should not know how well to do that. And I've had to unclog a lot of things and do things like that. So the AMS is going to be on the ugly side, just because there is a better option out there from Bambu. And I think this one has run its course. And those are the reasons why I think the A1 light or AMS light or whatever they're calling it is better, is because each filament tube goes directly to the nozzle, and there's a short amount of pullback for each color change, right? So you don't have to pull it back a full 3 feet. If you get into my second AMS over here, it's almost 3 feet from the nozzle back to this, or probably more than 3 feet through all the tubing and everything. So that can take a really, really long time. So again, really scratching at the surface here, really scratching, for things to put into the ugly category there. But I will say the AMS has been a little bit finicky throughout the year that I've had it, and I'm excited to use a different type of AMS in any future printers. All right, so there you have it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the X1C. And overall, I'll tell you, the trying to come up with bad and ugly was really being nitpicky and kind of tough to do. This is one of those products that gets better over time. From the first day that I had it until today, I have more features, more options and more capabilities with this printer than I did on day one. And there's not many products out there that you can say that for. And again, I'm not sponsored by Bambu. If you want to send them an email and get me sponsored, I'd be more than happy to do it. I've asked them several times. But this is one of those products that's got better over time, and it looks like things are going to get better in the future with the investments that they're making with the A1 Mini and the A1, the AMS Lite, and Maker World. It really looks like things are going to get even better. So I'm excited for the newer printers that they have coming out. I really want a larger X1 model. I do like having an enclosed printer because I do like printing with ABS and ASA quite a bit. And I would like the ability to print basically any filament that I throw at it. And I know you can do that, and it says you can do that with other models, but really without an enclosed printer, it's tough to do the larger prints and to do the things that are meaningful with that. So, overall, I highly recommend the X1C, and I highly recommend any of the Bambu printers. The filament, the hardware kits, the accessories, the build plates, the glues, the everything that they have, the whole ecosystem is really, really good. And again, I can't stress this enough. I have more features, more capabilities, and more things that I can do with my printer a year later than I did on the day that I received the printer. So that says a lot. That has a lot to say about Bambu and the technology that they put in their stuff and the ecosystem that they're creating. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to smash that like button if you did. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I have some brand new filament that I've never ran through here before coming out next week, and you definitely don't want to miss that. So I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you next weekend. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.